Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Well, it seems with COVID-19 that things are starting to open up. I'm hearing word from across two countries at this point where businesses are starting to slowly open. Now, I've got personal outlook on that, but something to keep in mind. Okay, frankly, when I look at the way this is all going, I'm still getting people that are telling me I'm siding with one group or the other. This is a no-win setup. Okay, so understand, in my case, because of the way that I work and the way I see things, it just so happens that I've seen a lot that's coming beforehand. Okay, I've talked to people before this hit, months before COVID actually struck. I was spotting what was going on. Now, do I agree with a lot of what the government has done? Yes. I absolutely do. Do I agree with some of the concerns, i.e., the financial concerns, the fact that people are feeling isolated, they're feeling like their life has been turned upside down? Absolutely. I was fortunate in one sense, in as much as my elderly parents both passed before COVID hit, so I didn't have to worry about that side of it. I don't have any kids that were going through graduation, which meant they didn't lose out on that irreplaceable part. But here we are at the restart now. So let's keep a couple things straight. First of all, the fact that businesses are starting to reopen does not mean that COVID is gone. In a lot of ways, if you watch what China did, China, as far as I understand it, they went into severe lockdown, and a few months later they opened up, and net result, they got hit again. Only they got hit worse. My personal concern on that is I can see the same thing happening. This said, it can be avoided. Remember the social distancing concepts that have been laid out. Remember the health concerns. Just because the businesses are starting to open does not mean that COVID is gone. All it means is there's been a reduction in it. Okay, but let us be clear. A reduction does not mean an end. It will pass. We will get through this. For the time being, take a look at a few things. Okay, and I do encourage you to listen to this whole video, to like it, assuming you do, of course, to subscribe to it so that you can get the rest of them as they come up, and to share it with as many people as you can. Okay, at the bottom of this video, at the bottom of the list for it, there is a whole bunch of ways of making contact. So if you have questions or if you've got concerns of areas that you would like me to discuss or me to cover, absolutely drop me a line. I will do my best to get to them. Okay. In the meantime, bear with me as that happens. Now, a couple of things. As businesses open up, let's start with the family because that's where it all has to start. Every person out there, whether they're a politician, a religious leader, a business owner, or a teacher, or anything like that, all of these people are human to start with. Well, the majority are human, but most of them are. Most of you have families of one form or another. Every one of you, in a sense, is a politician and a business owner. And let me clarify that. You all make up rules in your own home. You all list laws, if you will, or guidelines in your own home, in your own business, in your own church, in your own temple. Politicians simply make rules. Hopefully they apply to everyone equally, because if they don't, there's another set of problems that happen. But you're all politicians, so can we stop pointing fingers at who did what? You're all business owners. Now, the thing is, a business is not necessarily you go out to a building and have people come to you. There are three different forms of business that I'm aware of. You've got your business place, your place of business, if you will. That's the obvious one. Many are working from home now. Many are starting their own businesses, their own home-based, their own ideas, but the one that gets overlooked so often is absolutely incredible, is running a household is running a business. You still have to take into consideration finance, you have to take consideration of the different utilities you've got to deal with, and the care of your family, employee, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so keeping that in mind, a couple of very important aspects. I've got videos out on family, on different things about the family, about business restart, about getting your life moving, and about physical manifestation. Check out all the past videos. Okay, I encourage you to do so. I do my best to keep them short, aside from the wake-up call. Now, this one, again, this is wake-up call number 6. Basically, it boils down to this. I've done a lot of ranting over the last little while, pointing out things that people are doing that are a little ineffective. Now let's get down to rebuilding, shall we? First and foremost, first thing in the morning. Okay, now, I'm a little late this time. I usually get these out first thing in the morning. As it turns out, this is the 2nd of May. Right now, it's 8:02 local time, because I'm in Kelowna, BC, in Canada. Okay, normally I have these ready to go by 6 o'clock in the morning when I get up. Didn't work this week. Not entirely surprising. So, first things first. Get out of bed as soon as you wake up. If you haven't already got yourself organized, grab your breakfast, get something into you. And the reason for that, there's a lot of you that'll say, I can't eat breakfast. I know of one person in particular that physically cannot eat breakfast. Okay, and if you've got a situation like that, I do feel for you. But get your day started and understand the hardest part in any day, the biggest challenge anybody's got, is getting out of bed. I know I have that problem on occasion. Okay, needless to say, it can get interestingly, it can become an interesting trip. But get your day started. Take a look at what you desire to accomplish for the day. Now, I've talked about lists before. Much like this. I always keep one of these handy. You don't have to read it. It's just simply a tool. Okay, and you'll find that I use that a lot. The reason being, whether you're running a household or whether you're running a business, a list of things to do becomes critical, in as much as if you're trying to do a job that's huge, okay, what happens is if you don't get it finished and you get called away, you tend to feel like you didn't get anything accomplished. If you take that big job and you break it down into smaller jobs, when you get one done, you can get pulled away and you still feel like you got something finished. I will go into further detail with that in a future video. Now, that said, get a list started and go back and take a look at that video. We'll go into detail with that at another time. The reality of now is, with businesses reopening, and if you're one of the lucky ones, in a sense, that has the opportunity to get your business open, keep the social distancing in line. Okay, keep it in place regardless of what the government tells you. And the reason I say that is because people have a tendency of going, well, the government said we're allowed to go out and open business so we can get back to normal. Take my word for it, please. You don't want to get back to normal. Getting back to normal boils down to crowded rooms, people really close together. And the real catch, I went through my last video, the one that came out just yesterday, was about the similarity between COVID and the flu. Now, understand, the fact that you're allowed to open your business or that you're being encouraged to get outside now is great until you realize that virus doesn't really care who you are if you are too close, and there are still people out there that are asymptomatic. Hopefully the ones that are asymptomatic will heal and before it becomes symptomatic and never even know they had it. But until that happens, you've still got that threat. Okay, and you can call it, people tell me when I talk about the negative that I'm fear mongering. Understand, a virus doesn't deal in fear, a virus deals in opportunity. In other words, you get close to somebody that's ill, and that virus, whether or not the government knows about it, isn't going to matter. Whether or not the religious leaders believe that you're protected because you worship some worship God by some name, doesn't matter. Okay, the virus didn't get the message. Years ago, there was a scientist that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the bumblebee could not fly. The wings were too small, the air displacement when they were flapping was too little. They could not physically get off the ground. But as the saying goes, the scientist forgot to inform the bee. Therefore, the bee carries on and flies. Okay, same with with COVID. Scientists are saying the spread of it has reduced, which is great. People have been staying away from each other. If you stay away from each other, it will still hold it slow. It will still bring it to a slow or to a grinding halt, and it will die. This whole thing will pass. In the meantime, keep your social distancing. Okay, and please quit trying to find out who's to blame. Okay, as I said, everybody in the world is a business owner, no matter how old you are. You're a business owner, you're a politician. That's just part of the parcel. That's just part of the situation. You know, I gotta, shackle them together. Anyway, when it comes to the way this world is working, okay, take a look at what you require in the way of finance. As in, what do you require in your household to run your house, to pay your rent or your mortgage, pay your utilities, keep food on the table. Okay, but look at what you require. The real message that was supposed to get out with this was the dollar value. Money is not the root of all evil. I heard somebody the other day. I was talking to them, and they came to the conclusion that if you're one of these people that plays the lottery, okay, that's evil. Okay, because you're looking at the money as the thing you're going after. Do not pay attention to that for one thing. It becomes a problem if you're sacrificing your welfare. If you're spending your rent or your income, if you're using money to gamble on, take the money from your mortgage. Yeah, tripped over that one nicely. If you're taking money out of necessities, a roof over your head, your utilities, your clothing, your communication methods, your food, if your gambling is taking away from those aspects, then yes, you have a problem and you really should stay away from them. It's kind of like if you're spending all of your money, or a major chunk of it, on alcohol or drugs. You have a problem that you have to look at. Now, I'm speaking from practical experience where it comes to drugs and alcohol. I used to do way too much of both. Fortunately, I got away from both. On the other hand, coffee I still drink. Okay, there are all sorts of things that you can do when it comes to keeping on track. Okay, one of the biggest things at this point is understand the critical factor here is not the bottom dollar. You may be looking at your bank account and going, well, I used to have this and now I don't. Very true. The world you had, the world that was here before COVID-19 hit, is gone. You're not getting it back. People do not look at the world in it the same way anymore. Okay. Unfortunately, it does seem that mankind requires some sort of major catastrophe or some sort of, well, in this case, pandemic. And we call it a pandemic, meaning it affected the whole world. Now, the thing we have to remember here, whether you believe COVID was as bad as it was or not, is almost irrelevant. Okay, the fact of the matter is, most of the countries locked the borders. Most countries locked the borders and said, no, we're not going there. It's a danger. They isolated people. In some cases, they brought the military in to say, stay home. Okay. Now, if a government is going to go to that kind of extreme, take that back into the household. If you've got children that are misbehaving, that are overstepping boundaries, do you not force them to stay home? Things like grounding, take away their electronics, take away their freedoms to go and see their friends, take away their phone. Are you not one of these people that if your kids overextend, that you put a new law in place in the house going, you can't do that because you did, I'm going to punish you. The same thing applies with the governments. Okay, they are in place to help society evolve. Now, granted, they are not perfect. My guess is that has something to do with being human and just being corporeal, and simply not being perfect at this point. Okay, but the rules were put in place to slow things down. Now, the reality is it's starting to open up now, from what I gather. I am still going to be following the old guidelines as far as maintaining distance, as far as not going out quite as much, which for me was a good thing. See, I've been reclusive for the last 10 years. And the biggest difference when COVID hit for me was when they said stay home. Okay, stay home and stay away from people. The biggest difference for me was instead of going for a walk down to the local restaurant, have coffee and lunch and walk back. And granted, I did a lot of writing while I was there. But instead of doing that, I stayed home. I started going for a walk in the park that I used to go for a walk in regularly. Net result, it saved me a small fortune. It's kind of like the people that used to go daily to the casino. Okay, they go for whatever reason. If you cut off access to the casino, you're obviously not going there. Now, of course, there is that funny thing about the online casinos took an absolute, no, they just skyrocketed from my understanding. Now, I don't gamble, so that's okay. But now that things are opening up, keep your distance, keep a focus on what's going on. And still, as I've mentioned before, okay, look at what you really desire. Look at what really matters to you. Is it really the fact you've got two cars? See, where it comes to vehicles, where it comes to the whole lockup and the whole financial strain, do I understand it? Absolutely. Did it make a dent in my outlook on life? Certainly. I was one of the lucky ones. I managed to stay working because I've already been working at home. I've already been in that setup. Many people ended up in dire straits, but the government did and is still reaching out to help people. They're still putting programs in place where if you're in financial straits, you can get their assistance. It's not that the government didn't want people working. It's a question of they didn't want the virus spreading. And whether you believe where it came from or not doesn't really matter. We've got to stop looking at who's to blame. Okay, or who's siding with who. This is not a fight to see who has it right. This is a question of nature, as in COVID-19 is here. It does not differentiate between who anybody is. The fact of the matter is, low income didn't see it as badly because of the fact they were already used to the struggle. Now, for those of you that were in the higher income brackets, okay, granted, your house may well have been worth $1 million or so. You may well have lost a third of the value. But what difference does it make if you're not planning on selling it? Right? If you're comfortable living where you are, doesn't matter what somebody else says your house is worth. Doesn't matter what somebody else says your car is worth. No matter how much you spend on a car, it's about 16 square inches of rubber that are really imperative. Now, I may be a little off on the numbers, but it boils down to this. No matter how much you spend on your car, no matter how many bells and whistles, It's the contact of those four wheels that really make a difference to whether that car is of any use. Okay, so keep the communication lines up and running. Now is the time, since things are starting to move, to act on things that you've been holding back on. For instance, when it comes to the relationship side of things, if you're not happy, if you haven't been happy with your relationship, with yourself, with that special someone, with your family, whatever, as I've encouraged you before, make the changes. This is the time to start looking. Now, you'll find with businesses opening and with people modifying things that there is going to be a shift in a lot of areas. Not the least of which is people are going to start looking to move. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to drop prices in all fairness, although I would bet dollars to donuts that they will. Certain things like real estate, rental, that sort of thing, prices are likely to come down a little simply because people are wanting to get the money moving again. Okay, better to get $500 in your pocket than none. Okay, and I mean, there are some places where rent has been absolutely exorbitant. Now, the ironic part here is this: you've got a business. Take a look at what you're selling, whether it's a service or a product, doesn't matter. Take a look at the pricing and see if that is working. If that price is working, that's great. If not, then there is another issue altogether that you have to look at. Okay. And now is the time, well, realistically, the last 2 months has been the time to revamp your business or your home life. But take a look at it and start making things move. Okay. Now that's gone around in circles a few times, but okay. Shall we get started on a new life? When you do see somebody, try that neat little idea of just say hi to people. I posted a video video a little while ago of a song from 1973 called Up with People. That about says it all. Everybody out there wants to be heard. Everybody out there desires to be liked. They desire to be respected. Okay. A simple hello will not hurt anybody as far as I'm aware. And granted, there's a lot of different languages out there. But the one language that is universal, everybody understands it, including the animals. A simple smile to people will help immensely. Okay, and it does say that, I'm not a dangerous person, or maybe you are, but a smile does say it is a polite greeting where you don't even have to use your voice. Okay, but it does make people feel better. Okay, and in today's world, as things start to get moving, that smile, well, there's a pandemic, quite frankly, that I would love to see happen. Let's try and start a new one, shall we? Smile. Start a new pandemic. COVID-19 has been an absolute wake-up call for people, I hope. Family is the critical factor here. Now, that doesn't always mean bloodline. But as you get things organized, as you start moving forward, take the time to realize that everybody has gone through a lot. Now, the fact that things are starting to move does not mean that the stress is gone. There's a lot of people out there that are still going to worry about it. Okay, bear with them. Okay. Just say that a lot. Gotta find a new catchword. Something that's a little better. Or a better habit to work into. For me, it really boils down to this. I'm hoping that people have gotten the message that people are the important thing. People and the planet. You don't take care of them, your business won't survive anyway. Okay, it is time to quit looking, long overdue time, to quit looking at people and trying to figure out who's to blame or who is siding with who. Okay, to be clear, because I'm going to tie this off here, I'm not overly happy with the way this one goes, but that's okay. First and foremost, to be clear, this has not been, for me, this has not been a question of siding with anything, with anybody. This is simply a case of, I've seen a lot of things coming up that happen to have come up that the government has corroborated. So when I talk about stay away from me, keep your social distancing in place, this is not because I am going, oh, the government's absolutely right. This is because I know for an absolute certainty that a virus cannot get to people if you're not near them. It's very much like a forest fire. If there aren't any trees around, the forest will not burn. Okay, if you've got a single tree burning, nobody concerns themselves. If that single tree is close to a bunch of others, all of a sudden you've got a major problem. With an illness, nobody really concerns themselves. If somebody gets a flu, or if somebody gets, a cold, sure, people go back to work, they go sneeze, they sneeze somewhere, and nobody pays much attention to it. But the moment you get a virus like COVID-19 that jumps borders and starts taking people out across the board, yes, other viruses have killed people. Absolutely, the flu kills thousands every year, but it doesn't do it if nobody's around them. Okay, a virus cannot spread if there's nobody for it to spread to. So, starting today, okay, if you haven't already, okay, and I'm gonna put other videos out to deal with this. I gotta get back in sync here, but get a list together of, just start with 3 things that you require to do today. Get one done. Keep the things down to 15-minute to half-hour jobs. Okay. You write them off, and the next video that'll come out tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to deal with that right now. The video coming out tomorrow, I'm going to deal with exactly how the list works and why it works. Yeah, where did I put? Well, just reaching for a pen here. I figured the reality is this is simply the way I operate. I don't know about you, but my memory does not work as well as I'd like it to, which is the other advantage to keeping a list. Okay, now, the nice part about this is it's time to get organized. It's way overdue time to get organized. Talk to the people, especially in your own home. Talk to the people you consider family, whether they're bloodline or friends, doesn't matter. Start talking to them. Start planning for a future that does not rely on the dollar sign. Dollars are necessary. They are not the root of all evil. Categorically, okay, one of the best tools we've got is a very simple karmic law. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Meaning, treat people the way you desire to be treated. Okay, now, I've made this statement before, and it's a very fundamental issue for me. Okay. I have misquoted myself a number of times. But then what happens is I get into a ramble, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay. And don't entirely track, and I certainly don't tend to think before I speak, which is not a good thing. Okay, I keep getting told I really should believe the phrase, and I might be paraphrasing this wrong, but I believe the phrase is, when I start to get agitated, take a beat, take a step backwards. Okay, just pause, bite your tongue if you have to. Okay, sadly, I don't listen to that as much as I probably should. But I'm going to tie this off. Tomorrow, there will be another one. I'm going to deal with the specifics behind the list tomorrow morning. Now is the time to get started. Now is the time, way overdue time. We have a chance. You're not getting your old world back. The way the world was is not there. We have a new world. Okay. COVID has absolutely, categorically, across the world, changed the way people look at a lot of things. travel, social interaction, relationships, business, it's all different. Now, there are those of you that will strive to hang on to the differences, to the past. It's kind of like going across a monkey bar. Okay, if you're trying to swing across a monkey bar, or for that matter, try walking. If you don't, you put one foot in front of the other, but if you don't lift the back foot up and move it forward, you'll let go of the past and move into the future. If you don't do that, you're not going to make much headway. So, I will talk to you again tomorrow morning. Okay, until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sake, stay positive.